what's up you guys, it's Dorothy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're going to go into chapter 7 of Surviving Hitler, A Boy in the Nazi Death Camps by Andrea Warren. So let's get right into this video. This video may contain sensitive topics and foul language. If you do not wish to continue, I suggest you click off the video now. You have been warned. The game. He woke the next morning covered with lice. Whenever he normally had hair, they were burrowing into his skin and making him itch. He checked his blanket and found it was infested. He hurried with Aaron to the showers. They stood in a long line. Finally, they reached the dribbles of water with a spigot that passed for a shower. The whole time they were harassed by capos to hurry along. Aaron showed Jack how to rinse out his uniform quickly. It felt clammy on his skin and dried and stiff. He shuddered, thinking what it would feel like to do this in the winter when it was cold. But lice carried disease. He had to stay as clean as he could. There was sickness in the camp. Men coughed and had stomach problems. He heard rumors of typhus and dysentery in other camps. Both diseases caused much misery and could be fatal. What if they spread here? As the days became weeks, he grew more sure of the camp routine. Get your share of food, work hard, stay well, stay as clean as possible, avoid beatings. The last one sometimes seemed impossible. Who could say how or why a prisoner was singled out by the capos and guards? Blows were random, unexpected, and undeserved. A rubber truncheon across the back, a gun butt to the ribs, a kick in the rear or the stomach. It happened all the time. Maybe you stepped out of line, or maybe the capo did not like you. They could curse you, take your food from you, or beat you to death. No one stopped them. For every dead prisoner, there were a dozen to take his place. You did not expect a guard to do a kindness for you. That almost never happened, recalled Jack. The best you could hope for was one who did not beat you or have his dog attack you just for amusement. Somehow, Hitler and the Nazi SS, who ran the concentration camps, had convinced the German guards that Jewish prisoners were subhumans and that all prisoners, Jewish or not, deserved this brutish treatment. Jack knew the guards believed these things, for they said so often enough to the prisoners. There was no arguing with them. You would get your head bashed in for that. The capos were another story. All of them were prisoners. Some Jewish capos wore special armbands to identify them. The capos in the different barracks had special privileges and could steal food before it reached the prisoners. The fat capo did all the time. Other capos were in charge of the work details, and all there was perhaps one capo for every 50 prisoners. Jack learned that most capos had been in German prisons before the war for such crimes as murder or theft. When the SS set up his vast systems of concentration camps, they moved these criminals into camps to help control the prisoners. Some capos were insane, some were sadistic, and some were not so bad. It would have been so easy to despise them, since they had extra food and privileges, and had power over the prisoners, but Jack knew their lives were hard too. They stayed alive only as long as they followed orders. Jack chose not to hate them or the guards and officers. Hate was destructive and served no good. To hate would consume his strength. Everyone in this camp, he reasoned, had been caught up by events in the war. Everyone had a role to play to conserve energy. He had to stay as positive as possible, and hate was a negative emotion. Each non-Jewish prisoner had a colored triangle by his number to detonate his crime. The fat capo's was green, meaning he was a professional criminal. Jack was sure he was a murderer. Another prisoner in his barracks had a red triangle, so he was a political prisoner who had opposed Hitler. Gypsies were black, homosexuals were pink triangles. Purple was for non-Jewish religious people, prisoners such as the Seventh-day Adventists or Protestant or Catholic church leaders who opposed Hitler. A large majority of the prisoners were Jewish in some camps, but not all. They wore a yellow triangle. They were at the bottom of the prison hierarchy. By Hitler's definition, you were Jewish if you had at least one Jewish grandparent. You were even Jewish if you had converted to Christianity, even if you had never been in a synagogue in your life. Were a race in Hitler's eyes, and belonging to it was a crime, Jack said. One night, a few minutes before lights out, an older prisoner named Moshe, who had been in 4 different camps in 3 years, stopped by Jack's bunk to visit, as he often did. Moshe had sad eyes and a raspy voice. He had been transported to his first camp in a boxcar in which many people had died of suffocation. Jack assumed that Moshe liked to talk to him because he was young, for Moshe had been a school teacher and enjoyed teaching. Jack always listened politely to whatever was on Moshe's mind. That night it was about how the concentration camps were run. You probably think all we do is repair bridges and the like, so German soldiers are freed up to the fight at the front. But do you know that the camps are also a business? He said to Jack. All the able-bodied German men have been drafted into the army, leaving only women to work in the factories. So the SS leases us to them. The SS gets rich and we worked as slaves. Constant conditions in those factories are terrible. I know. I have worked in them. But not everyone who is Jewish can work. Moshe continued. And so what does Hitler do with them? He lowered his voice. I hear stories. Who knows if they are true, that in some places masses of people are taken straight to killing camps rather than to work camps like this. Here they kill you slowly with back-breaking labor and nothing to eat. But in these special camps, the people are told they are going to take a shower, and many of them are crammed into a huge sealed rooms. Then they are gassed to death and their bodies taken to the crematorium. Some children were imprisoned in the camps, like these Polish children at Auschwitz, before they were sent to the gas chambers. That's sad, sending children to gas chambers. Jack did not believe him. Why would they do that? It makes no sense. Moshe shrugged. We are Jewish. Hitler wants us all dead. I think that is true. Later, Jack shared this with Aaron. I have heard all those rumors and you should pay them no attention, he said. Not even the Nazis are that inhumane. If the Nazis want us all dead, they are already doing that. Did you try to survive in the ghetto? In the ghetto in my town, they starved us, whole families died. When I shave new prisoners, I see many who will not last here more than a few weeks. It is not just because they are weak and will not be able to do work. It is also because unless they have been in ghettos, they do not know how to live without their freedom. You must feel very sorry for them, Jack said. No, but they are fellow sufferers, Jack argued. Surely you feel sympathy for them. Jack, Aaron said firmly, this is a place of endless sorrow. Think only of yourself and those closest to you. If you allow yourself to feel emotion, you will die quickly. But Jack constantly struggled with his feelings. Most of the men around him were slowly starving to death. They were filthy and sick. Some muttered to themselves. Some cried for their wives and children. They cursed the SS, the Nazis, Hitler, and God. Yet others, like Aaron, stayed strong and helped others whenever they could. Sometimes Aaron could get extra food and he did not have to do heavy outside labor, but his survival depended on something more than that. What was the secret of staying strong? One day, as Aaron cut Jack's hair, he told him, think of this as a game, Jack. Above all else, do not take personally what is happening to you. Play the game right and you might outlast the Nazis. Play the game, thought Jack. He had done that for that very thing back in his uncle's village. Find extra food so you do not starve to death. When you walk across a field, keep your eyes open for a potato and carrot for anything edible. Jack had learned other rules as well. Do whatever you were told. Never call attention to yourself. Help your friends because you cannot survive without them. Stay healthy. Each morning after drinking the thin soup, do what you can to clean up. Though you have only a trickle of water, no soap, no towel, no scissors, no toothbrush. If you have a toothache, either learn to tolerate the pain or pull the tooth. See the barbers for monthly haircuts and endure the torture of periodic disinfecting to kill lice, even though you will soon have to see them again. It is a game. Think of it that way. But the consequences for a false move is death. If you showed up for roll call with so much as a bandage on you, you could be ordered aside and later killed. If you were beaten for any reason and could not work, then you would be killed. But do not take it personally. After 6 months in Belkamer concentration camp, Jack was thin but still healthy. He had learned to tolerate lice, no matter how cold and unpleasant it might be. He rinsed his uniform whenever he could. With Aaron's help, he was not starving. At times he was so hungry he ate bark from trees and mushrooms from the forest, though he knew they could be poisonous. Then one cold winter morning, after roll call, Jack and several hundred other prisoners were held back while the others were marched off to work. Without explanation, they were loaded on trucks and driven away from the camp. Jack thought he would freeze as the wind whipped around him. It was a snowy day, February, someone said. The year 1943, someone else said. Word went around that they were being moved to a different camp. Those who survived the selection process, like these women newly arrived at Auschwitz, had their heads shaven and were issued uniforms. It was true. Hours later, they were processed into the new camp. Jack was filled with anxiety. As awful as Belkamer had been, I knew what to expect. Now I had to start over in a new place, and Aaron was not here to help. Most of the prisoners in this camp, like the last one, were Polish, German, or Russian. The SS guards, as always, were German Jewish prisoners who spoke Yiddish, could understand enough German because of similarities in the languages. Most Poles already knew German. The Russians quickly learned what they needed to know. In this camp, instead of having individual bunks in the endless rows of numbered barracks, 8 prisoners had to crowd together at night on each of the 8-foot wide 3-tiered wooden late forms that lined the walls. There were no mattresses. At least all those bodies provided a little body heat because the nights could get very cold and our wooden barracks were unheated. Jack said if you had to go to the bathroom in the night, you used your food can. The toilets were outside in the open in the freezing cold. If you were caught in the beam of a searchlight on the guard tower, a guard would try to shoot you. So you used your can, and in the morning you dumped the can, then used it for your soup. You had no choice. The food was so bad as the last camp. It was as bad as the last camp, but here there were no showers, no way to stay clean or to rinse out uniforms. When typhus broke out in the camp, it quickly spread. Jack caught it and had fever, chills, and terrible cough. He dragged himself to roll call and using all his strength and determination continued to work. Many prisoners, including some in his barracks, became delirious and died. Each morning the dead were carried out, and by night new prisoners were in their places on platforms. Black smoke belched from the camp crematorium for hours every day. It took Jack a long time to feel he was over the illness. Other prisoners said he was lucky and would never get it again. That is a mild case, while like an inoculation, he was still in the game. He wished he could tell Aaron. That is the end of this chapter. I will see you guys in the next video for chapter 8. Bye.